An Actor's Journey, the Expressions Film Studio podcast with Imogen Heineman. Okay, we're here at Expressions Film Studio with Neil Shah, owner of Expressions Film Studio, and we're going to find out all about why Expressions is so great. So the very first question, what brought you to Expressions Film Studio and what makes you so passionate about it?
The studio was actually started by my sister in 2011. She was a professional actress who was also teaching, and she had a group of maybe like 6 or 7 really young kids that were learning from her, and their parents really wanted Rena to continue teaching, and they were like, you can do it out of your basement or wherever, and the kids just love you and they want to keep going. So Rena decided to rent a space, and we just rented a space from Artful Owl in Corden's little mall there. And Rena started teaching them, and it was kind of her idea to make like a little movie with them. At the time, I was not involved with Expressions at all. I was working on my master's, and I was home from Montreal, and we both lived at home at the time, so I would drive her to teach acting, and I'd be sitting in the back, and I would just be working on my thesis, and Rena was teaching, and I would just kind of watch them out of the corner of my eye, and I had no idea, what was going on, and I just saw all the fun they were having and all the stuff they were doing. And at the time, I was just kind of helping her kind of more behind the scenes. And slowly, I started to kind of see what they were up to, and Rena kind of showed me like the movie they made, and I realized that I had a place to like help them. I didn't have any training in it, so I was just like, okay, like I don't know anything about this, but I know I can make this better than you have it. And me and Rena have that relationship where we're very open with each other and open to help each other get better at things. So I started taking over like the technical side, and I bought my first camera, and I started researching online how to make a little movie. And I wrote my first little script, and we just went to town and made a little movie with the kids. And after that, things kind of just started chugging along, where we became like a tandem and a duo, running classes that were acting classes, but also movie making classes.
Oh, wow. That's amazing. And so what would you say makes Expressions different than other film acting schools?
I think that's a little bit of a tough question, because I think that every single acting studio is going to be inherently unique based on who's kind of teaching the classes and who's in charge. Acting is absolutely an art form. So I think the same way if you went to go learn how to play music or how to paint a picture, it really depends on who's mentoring you and who's teaching you. So the studio has changed and evolved through the years. So I would say that at the beginning, Expressions was largely unique because me and Rena were doing it together. We were a brother-sister team. We taught all the classes together for the most part, and we had a dynamic. We were a performance because we were, what's the word? There was a lot of sibling stuff that would go on between me and Rena, right, where we would like make fun of each other and step on each other's toes. And we would have differing opinions actually on acting or movie making. And I think that really helped the kids see that it wasn't one tried and true law that you follow this, you do this, and that's going to make you a great actor. But you had to actually explore yourself personally, because there's 2 people in front of you who think they know what's going on, and both of them are giving me advice, and both of it sounds good. Well, which one's right? So right. That was a big part of it. The other part was that we were really working on that other side of it, trying to produce small shorts in a very short period of time. And I don't think that anybody else had really done that. And I don't know if anyone really does produce the types of shorts we do that are original in that time frame that we do it.
Yeah, that's interesting. I personally have never really heard of any other acting studio actually making films in-house as well. How important do you think that is to have the kids a part of that, to see that whole process?
Well, for me, I think it became a bigger part as time went on. Ultimately, it's always going to come down to building joy and trying to have an activity that gives back to you and it makes you a better person, right? Like no matter what kind of activity, if you're doing hockey or basketball or you're taking piano lessons, whatever you're doing, the hobby itself is really important. and that strive for excellence, but it's the things you learn through that, and the people that you meet through that hobby that is ultimately going to be the thing that you carry with you for the rest of your life. So in that capacity, I think that the movie making aspect of it is really important, but I don't think it's the most important thing. What I've learned is that over time, for a lot of kids in this industry, you spend a lot of time practicing acting. So you come to class, you get your scripts. They're often from TV shows, and you perform them in front of your peers, and then that's it. And that can go on for a long period of time. So you're improving your acting, but you're not really getting the chance to test yourself. And as somebody who coached basketball for 10 years, it was always good that we would come in every week. You had a weekday practice or whatever, and you work really hard, and then you get to go to the game. And I always tell whoever I'm explaining expressions to is I wanted the chance for these young kids that were acting to test themselves and go to the game. They had to have a chance to prove themselves and try out their skills in the environment that it was meant to happen. But the reality is, if you are auditioning and trying to get into actual, union projects or even independent projects, a lot of these kids aren't going to get that opportunity. So I wanted to give it to them. So I think that is the important aspect of it, is that I wanted a chance for them to experience what they were working towards, as opposed to just acting for years and never having that opportunity.
That's great. And so do you get to make movies here all year round, or do you like to separate it, or how does that kind of work?
Originally, we only made movies during our summer camps and our winter session. We are trying to build as many opportunities as we can throughout our programming. So now in the fall, we have our on-set experience, which is not a winter movie in the sense that it's like a full, 10 to 15 minute short. Instead, it's like the kids will get that script that's an original script about something, and we will build a set here, and they will get a chance to perform it, be recorded, and see an edited version of that performance. So the fall session is not the full idea, but it's a piece of it. And then in the winter session, we have our full movie. Every class is making, a 10 to 15 minute short. Currently, the only time we don't do that is spring. And it's really a logistical question and issue that we are always trying to work out. Usually after winter session, most of the staff here is pretty burnt out, because anyone who's made a short film will tell you that it takes a lot out of you. So as our creative energy is low, that's kind of like our chance to kind of just get back in spring to the acting component and less about the movie making component.
Right. Okay. And I know there's a lot of kids that do theater. I even have a wee bit of theater acting experience for myself. And so obviously there's the stage and there's the camera, but what actually is the difference with the technique, and how would you recommend a kid choose whether or not to choose film or theater for their acting?
There's the basic ideas of what is different between film and theater acting. And primarily, everyone usually points to the fact that in theater, you absolutely need to project your emotions, your voice, because you are acting for an audience, many of which are far away. So if they can't see what you're doing, they're not going to be able to feel what you're doing. In film, it's the opposite. As the camera, or if you've been to the theater, you're actually magnified. So if it's a close-up on your face is now, 300 feet across. So any minute detail, anything that happens, a glimmer in your eye, a small smirk, that's all going to translate to film. And that's not the case for theater. Even if you're in the third row, you're not going to see those minute details. So technically it's different, but ultimately the emotional side of it, while might be trained differently, whoever I've talked to that's a professional actor or somebody who's really deep into both and training in both, you're looking for honest performance. And the work that goes into honest performance is the same for both. So whether or not you're in theater or you're in film, you're ultimately trying to be true and honest to your character and their emotions. So if you've done your work in theater, we often, talk about the fact that in theater as well, like you can be on stage and you're feeling those emotions, and yes, you're projecting them, but you're feeling them. And that's when people know that you're having You're watching a really good theater performance, and that's what's beautiful about theater, is that not only is it that person on stage is projecting those emotions, but you and the audience are now sharing that experience with them. So it's amazing. Film, on the other hand, is a little bit different in the sense that, we're not necessarily acting for an audience here. There's a close team that's collaborating together. So you and the other actors, the camera person, whoever's there. With our small independent projects, it's a very small team. But if you end up on a real set, there's going to be lots of people around you, and they're all working towards one particular goal. So that collaboration becomes the thing that's inherent to your performance. Is that not that you don't want to let everyone down, but you know that you're all working on an artistic goal together, right? So you are still doing that same work of like learning your character, learning their emotions, trying to be honest. And, if everybody else is working together in that same way, you're hoping that it's all going to translate into something really beautiful. But the training is different in the sense that film training is very much about feeling, and you're not worried too much about projecting it, because if you project it most of the time on camera, it's gonna be overplayed,
right? And
then people are gonna realize you're acting. So it's trying to contain your emotions. One of the really nice things that I like to talk about, especially with more dramatic scenes, if you have a scene with a kid and they're supposed to be like crying or getting sad or something like that, a lot of the times you'll have kids, especially from theater, come in and they'll fake cry, or they'll do something like that, and then you have to kind of stop them and say, like, if you can't actually get there emotionally, then don't do it. Because on film, holding back emotions plays beautifully.
Right.
Trying, because you're like, it's just like in real life, right? And that's the nice thing about film, is that a lot of the times we are about to feel something, and we hold it back because we don't want to show people our vulnerable side. Yeah. But the camera reveals all of that. So it's really nice if you can get a film actor to really understand what we mean by being honest and truthful, right? So once you achieve that level of vulnerability and that feeling of being comfortable on camera, holding back looks just as good as showing it. So.
Right. So what's one piece of advice you'd give to somebody starting out their acting career?
I think the main thing, regardless of, whether or not you're training at a studio or you're practicing scripts at home, I hear a lot of people say things like, "Oh, I want to be an actor." I have a few friends that are like my age that are like, "Oh, I always wanted to get into acting, and I got to come train." And I think the big thing, it really has so much less to do with wanting to act, and has so much more to do with wanting to play characters.
Interesting.
And if you really love to just go off in your imagination and become somebody else, and if you love to play, or if you used to love to play, that's what really is necessary, is that you get immersed in the work. I'm constantly showing kids here clips of people who have made it in acting, and they're always talking about the work, and I'm always talking about the work. I wish we didn't call it the work in this industry, but it is the work, and it's for some of us it's not work. Like I love making movies with kids,
right?
And no matter how much I try to stop myself because I have so many other things to do, once I get that script in my hand and we start making movies, I become obsessive. Right. It doesn't matter if it's a short for my group of 5-6s, and we only have an hour and a half to do it. I'm going to put everything I can to make that story come to life, because I'm so excited to edit it and put in the little effects, and I just want it to be great. And that is the exact sort of passion that you're looking for in an actor. So if you get a script and you just can't wait to dig your teeth into, what are my lines? What is my character doing? And start thinking about all the different things that are going to happen. That's how I try to train, is like, you're looking at your lines and saying, oh, in between these lines, maybe my character turns away because they can't handle something, or they walk, or they pace. You're building in the blocking yourself. You're thinking about the different things your character can do. You are hopefully trying it with different emotions. You're not just like imagining it one way. And you meet a lot of kids that treat it kind of like homework.
Right.
And that's definitely a danger, is that, you know, it's the same, like I'm a teacher and it's the same thing. It's like you hand out an assignment and there's the kid that's going to quickly write out all the answers and then hand it in, right? They did the work, it's done, and it's over. And then there's the kid that doesn't know any of the answers because they weren't paying attention and they don't want to do it.
Right.
And then there's the kid that knows all the answers but takes a really long time to make sure that they're answering in the way that they want to. And then when they hand in their assignment, that it represents exactly what they wanted to say on the paper. And that is exactly what I'm talking about when I'm talking about like actors who want to do it. They're the kid that they don't just hand it in. They actually are excited about it. They'll read it again. It's like getting a novel that you love, you know? It never leaves you. I still to this day, like little shorts that we made like 5 or 6 years ago, I still remember the great moments that we did, you know? Because it was a big moment for us as a group. It's the same thing when you if you coach sports or you play sports, there's just certain moments that never leave you, whether it's a loss or, you know, one of the things that always used to happen to me in my group that I used to coach is that we'd always make it to the finals and we'd always lose.
Yeah, right.
You know,
but you made it.
We made it to the finals, but it still impacted us. Like I'm a teacher, so to me, like losing in the finals is a great teachable moment, right? There's so many things to learn there. Obviously, the kids don't want to learn it in the moment, but upon reflection, there's so many things, and that is exactly the same thing in acting. Because it's not always going to work out. We're making shorts in like a very short period of time. Our imaginations soar, and then, you know, the reality and the product that we make is going to be reflecting, you know, what's possible. And there's lots to be learned there in terms of both the acting and the technical side, which we've been learning for the last, you know, 11, 12 years.
Yeah, right. Absolutely. So do you have a favorite acting experience, or what was your first acting experience ever?
I'm not an actor, like I'm not a self-proclaimed actor, but I have dabbled,
right? And
I have auditioned and landed a few parts. It was a really great experience as somebody who's training actors here, and who's someone who enjoys the production side, to go and act, because I always tell people who come to me who want to learn how to make films, I'm like, take an acting class, because if you don't understand what, you know, let's be honest, like nobody really wants to watch, you know, a film without actors in it. I mean, unless you're doing like a nature documentary or something, but those are your actors and they're never going to lie, you know? But if your subjects are human beings and you don't understand what they're going through when they're up acting in front of you, then it becomes very difficult to direct and understand the process. Right. You need to, it's just like a great boss. They understand all the people under them and what they're doing, you know? The same way, acting for everyone is really important. So for me, ending up on set was really eye-opening. One, the incredible amount of waiting that has to be done. Right. It's a waiting game, and it's a patience game, and it's learning to stay in the zone, because it can be very easy to get distracted when you spend all this time in a trailer, and then you get to set and there's all these moving pieces, right? Like I mentioned, like theater is beautiful in the sense that once the stage is set and all the work is done, then you can just go act on stage. And of course there's technical components going on, but it's not the start and stop go nature of film acting, which is, you know, they're going to cut you after one line. They're going to move the cameras around. You're waiting 10 minutes. And then when they call action again, you got to go to your next line and still hold that emotion. You don't get to just do it in one go. So that aspect of it is very difficult. And knowing that for actors allows me as a director and someone who's like helping produce these films with these kids is I know that it's difficult, and I know what kind of time and what kind of energy on set is required to keep pace.
Absolutely. Yeah. So speaking of making movies, is there one that you've made that's your absolute favorite, and why?
I'm a teacher, so I'm not supposed to pick favorites.
Right.
So I won't reveal what my favorite short film was. But there's two things that have happened through the years. One, we've gotten better at making movies. So I definitely more proud of my work and the staff's work on more recent films in terms of like how they look. But throughout the years, there's been a couple of groups that I really enjoyed working with. So I had a group that kind of aged through the program with me and Rena, and they kind of started out with us when they were like 10, 11, and we had them all the way until they became adults.
Right.
So in their final year, they had learned so much from us that they took on the project themselves and they made their own movie, Please Hold, which was kind of like a mockumentary, a spoof of kind of like The Office. And it turned out so amazing and so great. They had such a great time on set, the camaraderie, the collaboration. So many of those kids are still friends today and still making art in different capacities. Some are doing it professionally now and went to school for it. Some are just doing it as hobbies. Many of the people in that group are now teaching for me. So like that group and that project is very special to me. It's kind of a culmination of, all of it coming together. And then this past year, I was able to make a movie for the first time, kind of, again, trying to figure out all the logistics of coming up with an idea and working with a particular group and then executing. We did a film together that was really great. It had so many little Easter eggs for little things that kids really wanted in it. And it just came together really nicely. And that one was like Headlights. And yeah, I was really proud of that film, the way it looked. The acting in it was really great.
Yeah, it was.
And now, that's probably going to be like one of my final films because I'm expecting another child and like I'm taking my first term off ever teaching after like 11 years. So
congratulations.
Thank you so much. And yeah, so now, that was kind of like my last hurrah before I'll probably have to take a little bit of time before making movies again. But I was really proud of that group and the work that we did together.
Yeah, no, it was a beautifully done movie. The cinematography and the lighting was perfect. I loved it. It was the first one I watched actually before I came to Expressions. I was like, I want to be a part of that. So the very last question, I know you're not supposed to pick favorites, but what is the best part about coming to work? The number one thing that keeps you going? Why do you do this as the owner of Expressions Film Studio?
I mean, this far in at this point, it's been a long time since I had another job. Mm-hmm. So, I'm, like I said, I'm a teacher by trade. I'm going to go try that out pretty soon. Mm-hmm. The best part about coming to work is everything because I've worked pretty much every industry there is. Throughout my time. I always mention that to kids and people that I've worked in many industries and working in the arts is fantastic. But in particular, obviously, working for myself and working for Expressions has been, it's been a revelation for me. I get to run this studio in a way that makes me proud of the work that we do with kids. I get to help kids in different capacities, whether they're here recreationally to learn acting and have fun and grow as people. For those who are looking to do it professionally, I can help them on that journey. It's a very human experience, and I try to keep it to be a human experience here and not be like super academic, or it's not going to be super serious. And one of my favorite comments that a student once told me, they came up to me and said, I really love this class because we're really goofy and silly when we're just hanging out. And then when it's time to do the work, time to do a scene or make a movie, we're so serious. And to me, that's such an important aspect of life is like you need to know what you're doing and when it's the right time for certain things. And I feel like I've tried to embody that in the classes at Expressions is we're here to have fun. And then when it's time to like make our work and be serious, we like give it 100%. And I think life should be like that. When we're enjoying life, we relax and enjoy, and then when it's time to work, we just get down to business and take it seriously. And that's kind of what I'm trying to impart to the kids.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on our very first episode. It's great to have you here, and stay tuned for our next episode. We have a special guest coming and we will announce it soon. Thanks for watching.